Hi there, I'm the CRM Ninja, and on today's episode of the Oops Factor, I am delighted to welcome Joe Griffin. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hello, how's it going?
It's good, thank you. Now, for those of you who don't yet know Joe, my background might give away his background, because my background here in the call is of code, and Joe is, of course, a developer.
Yeah, so at the moment, as you can see, I'm sort of sailing away on the high seas, coding up a storm, literally.
Good phrase, coding up a storm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But Joe also has other things that he does apart from developing. So I understand, Joe, that one of your hobbies are video games. Can you tell us what sort of thing you like playing and how you got into it?
So at the moment, what am I playing at the moment? I'm Last of Us 2, which I think I'm nearly there with. That's taken about 35 hours so far.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, so that's pretty good. What else am I playing? Quite into historical strategy games and things like that.
Age of
Um,
Empires?
Age of Empires, yes, back in the day, that was one of the games I played
Ah,
quite a lot as a young babby. These days, I play these they're like called grand strategy games where you play from like the medieval age through to World War II and all that sort of stuff.
okay.
I quite like history, you see, so it sort of fuses together two quite interesting things for me.
And how did you get into this in the beginning?
Video gaming. I think it was probably I got a Game Boy when I was probably 3 years old. So that would have been 92, 93.
Hold on.
So
You got a Game Boy, which at that point would have been an original Game Boy, at the age of 3 years old.
yeah, I'm gutted because you see how they're going for these days in pristine condition, and literally, I think the Game Boy's it's probably outside somewhere. Back's gone from it, all bashed to horrible, just awful. But back in the day, it would have been like pristine Game Boy, your Tetris cartridge, all that sort of stuff. But as a kid, you don't really think ahead that much, do you? You don't sort of think, okay, I best keep it in this plastic wrapping, and then it might be worth £400 in 10 years or whatever. Still a be.
Yes. Yes, very, very true. And I had original Game Boy as well. It was actually the only game console I ever had,
No,
apart from a
brilliant.
computer. But I didn't get mine at the age of 3. I think I was about 9, 10 at the time.
Yeah. So I mean, they're pretty good. They stand up into. So we mentioned Tetris. Tetris. Anyone can play Tetris.
Yeah.
Got like Super Mario games, and then when you got to 95, 96, that's when Pokemon started hitting the scene in a big way. So yeah, yeah, good times for the Game
They
Boy.
lasted a number of years, and of course, one of the best things about the original Game Boy was it was so hefty that if somebody annoyed you and wanted to take it away, you could just hit them with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like a little brick. In fact, wasn't there that? It's in a museum, I think, in the States somewhere. I think some guy took like the Game Boy to like the Gulf War or something like that with it, and he was caught in like
Yes.
an attack or something like that. So the truck was ruined, equipment ruined, all stuff. Game Boy, bit damaged around the outside, but still working, still playing Tetris just fine. And that just sums it up. Better than Nokia
It
phones,
does.
than those old big Nokia phones, I think.
Oh, Nokia phones. We're really talking about classics today.
Yeah, classics. Yeah, Game Boy, Nokia phones. Yeah, all good stuff.
All very good stuff. So, moving on from video games and the joys of the Game Boy, what story do you have to share with us today?
So I thought I'd talk about a situation we did a couple of years ago around a career change, and it sort
Okay.
of didn't it. It sort of and why sometimes maybe sometimes looking over the grass is green on the other side is not always probably the best attitude to sort of adopt. So at the time, I was getting a little bit sort of frustrated in my current job. At the time we were trying to sort of roll out sort of what would have been Dynamic CRM 2015, I think it was,
Okay.
online in the
I
organisation.
remember it well.
Remember it well, yeah. So that's the first version that I started working with, incidentally. So
Oh,
yeah, so
okay.
we tried to implement it, just hitting a brick wall. I was just getting frustrated. Um, got approached about a potential role. Um, all sounded really fantastic on paper. Sounded really good.
These things
Um,
always do. I mean, the number
the,
of recruiters who contact myself and other people in the community, and if they would send out printed sheets, we'd just be swimming in them.
this is my mistake at the time, maybe to a certain extent. I think because it was through a recruiter. Not to you know cast scorn or discredit people,
There,
but
there are
obviously. they've
There are
got an
some
agenda.
recruiters who are better than others, shall we say?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's all about like when you're selling either a CRM system or trying to sell a candidate, it's all about getting the deal at the end of the
Yeah.
day, and that is sometimes just take priority. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, so I left sort of my current job. It was everything about it was really great. So great team, great manager, all that sort of stuff. Ended up joining a new organization, and literally it was just a complete reversal in terms of what I was both expecting and was sort of used to in terms of how teams work. So typically, working as part of a small team in previous roles and things like that, generally there's a good mentality in terms of everyone just getting stuck in, everyone just sort of being helpful, supportive. We're here to get the job done.
Yeah.
Work hard, play hard, all that sort of stuff. And this new situation just didn't have any of that at all. In fact, it was the complete opposite, really, in terms of
Ouch.
what's that? Sorry.
I said, ouch.
Ouch.
I've been
Yes.
in
Yes.
similar sort of situations. You go from somewhere that's nice and fluffy and then warm and comforting, and then it's like a cold water.
Yeah. So, and to a certain extent, I've always been a believer. So if you've ever done anything around agile and things like that, there's this great phrase they talk about. When you are a leader or team manager or whoever it might be, it's all about this concept of being sort of a servant leader. So you're there
Yes.
to serve the team. You're there to be sort of a role model, a mentor. You should be helping. You should be supporting. You should be that sort of, person that people sort of look up to. And in this
A facilitator.
facilitator, yeah, facilitator. And in this new situation, this just wasn't present at all. In fact, it was sort of the opposite, really, in terms of how the dynamics in the team were. It just wasn't a very it just wasn't a good situation. So for me, obviously getting into the role for the first time, being quite excited, being quite keen to get stuck in and things like that, it turns you off things pretty quickly.
I can
So
understand exactly what you mean by that.
So in the end, what actually happened was I ended up going back to my old job in the end.
Hold on. So you left your job, you handed in your notice because the recruiter had come promising you golden rainbows, and you went off to the new job, and you were there for whatever period of time.
5 months.
5 months, which is a decent
5
period
months.
of time.
Yeah.
In these things, and then you weren't liking it, and you contacted your old boss and said, "Can I come back?"
It was something like that, and it was and it was illuminating to that extent, the experience, because it made me realize what I had, and actually in terms of the good team. Okay, yes, there were challenges in the role. We couldn't move things forward with the CRM deployment. We couldn't actually sometimes have barriers all over the shop, but at the end of the day, having that good team there, having a group of colleagues who you work well with, and can actually achieve some really good things, is when you put your heads together, was far more important than any potential fluffy shiny things at the rainbows that might come around that. So I
your
guess,
previous boss was quite nice and said, "Sure, come back."
really, really the sort of the great that epitomizing what I've spoken about in terms of the servant leader, that sort of type of character, somebody who, you want to work as part of, you want to be in a team with, and that you're going to be looked after, type thing. So
that's crazy, but just so amazing. I know so many companies where that would never happen. They're like, "Well, you left us, we don't want you back, or you can come back, but it's at a much lower salary, or you've got to make up for it and stuff." So to have a situation whereby they've accepted you back in with open arms, because they know they have to sort of let you go if that's what you're feeling, but they'd love to have you back, is really great.
It's more about just sort of recognizing that you sometimes go off and think, okay, I'm going to move on. You do it in the best of intentions, but sometimes, okay, you do make a mistake. You do sometimes think that So it was great that there was a recognition there that, okay, right, you made an attempt here, you got it wrong. Okay, well, that's fine. We still need you back, so come back, and we can try and sort of do that. So typically when people might sort of take the sort of viewpoint that, okay, well, if you get well, once you've left, never go back, leave it, it's not worth it, saying all that stuff. I've just thought, well, that's a crock of bullshit. Okay, at the end of the day, in terms of your career, as long as you can get it aligned in terms of, okay, from a salary expectation, salary is always important. I'm not going to sort of lie about that. But, ultimately, if you can find yourself in a situation from a work standpoint where you've got a great team around you, where you've got the support that you need, you've got, people that you've got that sort of rapport with in the team and things like that, that is really important. And that is really, really difficult to find. I've worked in so many situations and, roles before where that just wasn't present, where the dynamics of the team just wasn't there. So, case in point, the new job, there just wasn't the dynamics there. So actually, when you get to the point where you've got that, where the dynamics of the team are just so fantastic and just things like that, you have to you owe it to yourself to a certain extent to sort of embrace that and just see, okay, let's see how far we can go with this, because it's working for me. I'm getting,
Absolutely,
in terms of, what I want out of a career. It's not just a job for me. It's about, doing the great things for customers, for the business, working collaboratively, all those good stuff, so why not just go for it?
Yeah, no, that's really true. I mean, I've worked in a number of industries as well, verticals, horizontals, internal consulting, and big, small, very corporate, very non-corporate. And it's interesting to see sometimes when you go in a company when you expect something to be like that because of what you read or what you've heard, and it's totally the opposite. Both sometimes in a positive way and sometimes in not such a positive way. So,
I
yeah.
think all I would sort of say on that is that, if you're in a situation where you are looking at, new roles, you are looking at moving across, sometimes, if an organization is sometimes being overly verbal about, how they do things, you're talking at all these nice fluffy things in really quite loud vocal ways. For me, that's always a little bit of a red flag, because to me, they're trying to sort of push almost a narrative, which, okay, they know that it's shit basically, and they're just trying to sort of go like, okay, well, look, okay, yeah, we got a pool table at work. Oh yeah, we bring your dog to work days. Right,
Hey,
yeah.
pool
Hey,
tables are important. Let's not
no,
hurt the pool table.
well, pool tables, at the end of the day, when the job's done, when the client's happy, have a few games of pool, absolutely, at the end of the day.
Yes.
But the end of the day, if you come into work to do a job, you come into work to do great things for either the business, your internal customers, or your actual clients as part of that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if neither of those are happy, you've not done a good job. Certainly somebody working in IT. Certainly somebody working in IT.
Indeed. And what I would say as well, what I would add is something that several people, that we know of in the community have said, which is, if you're thinking about leaving your job, assuming it's not because you're unhappy in your current place, say, you are happy, it's a great team you're getting on, but say it's just for salary reasons, go talk to your manager first, because you never know. If they see you as a valuable team player, you're pulling your weight, you're mucking in and doing the dirty work and stuff at times, go ask for that salary increase. It's not up to you to already say in your head that they'll never give it to you. Go try for it.
It's a two-way street. So if you've heard Alison Mulligan, who's quite active in the community, works at Maximus IT, she's in a talk where she's talking exactly about this, and talking about, okay, it's about both you and your employer or your boss sort of setting those objectives. Okay, how can I grow as an individual, maybe get certified, do something I want to do that's a bit more interesting, get a pay rise, that always helps as well. But also, how can what do I need to do as an individual to sort of prove to the organization that I'm deserving of that? So it's always worth having that conversation, that two-way conversation, and trying to sort of if everything else around you is ticking its boxes in terms of, okay, it's a great team, the clients are great, the company's pretty nice and stuff like that, then you sort of owe it to yourself to have that conversation. But really, if the fundamentals aren't there in the first place, in terms of what I've been speaking about, in terms of the team dynamics, the sort of the I guess the culture, to a certain extent, the culture of the place just isn't for you. Then get out of there. It's not worth your time or energy to sort of try and change that about.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story with us, and definitely very valuable lessons to learn from it.
No problem.
Now here comes the point where I ask who you'd like to see on the show and hear their Roots Factor story.
Who I'd like to hear on the show? Ooh. Have you had MCJ, Matt Collins-Jones, on yet?
I have had Matt Collins-Jones on, yes.
Ah, right. Okay. Who else can I rope in then?
Doesn't have to be just in the UK. You were nominated by somebody abroad.
The plot thickens. You can have some real fun with this. Oh my God. Who can I think of? You spoken to Eric yet?
I have spoken to Eric.
Oh, you haven't spoken to Eric too. Oh God. Paddy Byrne.
I have spoken to Paddy as well.
Free.
I tell you what, I'm not going to put your pressure on camera. We'll hook up. We'll chat offline and stuff. And I look forward to hearing a name from you who hasn't yet been on the show.
Yeah,
this is the problem. I mean, I've been doing this now. We're coming up now for 2/3 of a year. So just going through stuff. Anyhow, don't worry. We'll chat about it. So, Joe, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show. Viewers, we hope that you've enjoyed the episode. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. Check out the rest of the Oops Factor playlist. Take a look at the blog. Have a great day.